In Georgia, the earth doesn't just hold roots, it holds debts. Red clay, thick as blood, heavy as a secret kept for 60 years. They call it progress, an interstate cutting through the past. But the machines dug too deep. 7 bodies, 7 names erased by the wind, and 1 gold ring found among the bones. A ring that belongs to a man who shouldn't exist. Some men build empires on marble, others build them on silence. But silence is a fragile foundation when the rain starts to fall. Welcome to the soil where redemption goes to die. My name is Marcus Reed, and I'm about to dig up the devil. The rain in Oconee County doesn't wash things away. It just makes the mud heavier. I've been standing in this pit for 3 hours, staring at what's left of 7 human beings. They were buried face down, a signature of shame, or a ritual of silence. The forensic tech says they've been here since the 60s, before I was born, before the world decided to pretend this town had a conscience. Headlights cut through the mist. The law is here. But in this part of Georgia, the law and the truth haven't spoken to each other in a long time. Sheriff Miller doesn't like the rain. He doesn't like me either. He calls me the city boy with a grudge. He walks over, his boots sinking into the clay with a wet sucking sound. He looks at the bones like they're a nuisance, a pothole on a Sunday drive. Thorne, he says, his voice like gravel in a blender. This is a historical site now, not a crime scene. Pack it up before the press gets wind of this circus. He's not looking at the bodies. He's looking at the evidence bag in my hand. He knows what's in there. Historical, I ask? My voice is flat. Dead. 7 men with holes in their skulls isn't history, Sheriff. It's a cold case. And this ring, it has a senator's name on it. Miller's jaw tightens. I can hear his teeth grinding over the sound of the downpour. Sterling is a hero in this state, he growls. You go poking that hornet's nest, and you'll find out how fast a career can disappear in the swamp. He's not threatening me. He's giving me a eulogy. I didn't tell Miller why I really took this case. He thinks I'm chasing a promotion. He thinks I want a headline. He doesn't know about the man in this photo. My grandfather. He disappeared in 1964. My grandmother died waiting for him to walk through the front door. She used to tell me the red clay took him, that the earth was hungry. Looking at those bones today, I didn't see victims. I saw family, and I saw the man who put them there, sitting in a mansion 10 miles from here, drinking 40-year-old scotch. 10 miles away, Harrison Sterling watches the rain. He's lived a long life, a clean life. But the past is like a ghost. You can bury it deep. You can pave it over with concrete and progress. But when the ground gets soft enough, the dead start to float. He picks up a phone. He doesn't dial. He just waits. He knows I'm coming. He's been waiting for someone like me for half a century. The question is, how many more bodies will it take to keep the rest of them buried? The road back to the precinct is a straight line through a crooked forest. Every mile I drive, the weight of that gold ring in my pocket feels heavier. It's not just jewelry. It's an anchor dragging the Sterling name down into the mud. My grandfather didn't just vanish. He was erased, and the man holding the eraser is currently the most powerful person in this state. I can feel the eyes of the pines watching me. In Oconee, even the trees are on the payroll. The archive room smells like damp paper and forgotten sins. I'm looking for 1964, the year the music stopped for my family. Most of these files are organized, neat and bloodless. But when I reach the back of the drawer, the rhythm breaks. The folders are thin. Too thin for a year that saw 7 men disappear. Someone didn't just hide the truth. They starved it. Water damage. That's what the official note says. But the edges of the 1964 logs aren't stained by water. They're kissed by fire. A controlled burn, professional, thorough. Except they missed one thing, a name scrawled on the inside of the drawer itself, a name that doesn't belong in a police file. Looking for something, Elias? Miller's voice cuts through the silence like a dull blade. He hasn't moved, but the air in the room just got colder. The 1964 logs, I say, keeping my voice steady. Seems they had a little accident. Miller chuckles, a dry, hollow sound. Old buildings, old wiring. Things burn. Best to leave the ashes alone before you get your hands dirty. He isn't guarding the files. He's guarding the fire. I leave the precinct with more questions than I brought in. Miller is watching me from the window. I don't need to look back to know. The ring in my pocket is a beacon, and I'm the only one foolish enough to follow the light. But I'm not the only one hunting ghosts in this town. You're hard to find, detective. She doesn't look like a Sterling. She has her father's eyes, but there's a fire in them he lost decades ago. Sarah Sterling, the senator's daughter, the journalist who writes the stories her father tries to bury. I'm not the one hiding, I reply. She slides a manila envelope across the table. It's thick, heavy. My father isn't just a politician, she whispers. He's a vault, and I found the key. She's risking everything. Her name, her inheritance, maybe her life. Why? Because she knows the red clay is shifting. She tells me about the Cypress Society, an old name for an old bloodline, a group that decided who lived and who died in Oconee for 100 years. Her father didn't act alone. He was the chosen son, the one they trusted to keep the graves shallow. I look at the list. 6 names I recognize from the excavation site, but there's a 7th name. It's not my grandfather's, it's Miller's. Not the sheriff, his father, the man who was sheriff in 1964. The cycle isn't just history, it's a family business, and business is about to pick up. I leave Sarah Sterling in the booth with her ghosts. The document in my coat pocket feels like a thermal charge burning through the fabric. The Cypress Society. Miller's father, Sterling's legacy. It's a map of a massacre, and I'm the only one holding it. The fog is so thick you could carve your name in it. In Oconee, the air doesn't just carry moisture. It carries the weight of everyone who never made it home. 2 lights in the mirror. They've been there since I left the diner. Not a patrol car. Too wide. A truck. Heavy. I don't speed up. I don't slow down. I just watch the distance. In this town, being followed isn't a warning. It's an invitation to a funeral. I take the turn toward the Blackwood Creek. Let's see how badly they want to talk. The old sawmill. This is where the paper trail ended in 1964. They used to say the river ran red here, and it wasn't from the clay. It's a cathedral of rot now. A monument to the time when the Sterling family owned the land, the law, and the lives of everyone on it. The truck behind me kept going, but the message was sent. I'm being watched, and the watchers want me exactly where I am. My grandfather's last known location. He came here to meet a source. He never walked out. I can almost hear the saws, the screaming of the wood. Or maybe it wasn't the wood. The Cypress Society didn't just kill. They made examples. They used the machinery of progress to grind down the opposition. I'm walking on floorboards that have soaked up 60 years of silence. The mark of the society. It's not a relic. The scratches are fresh. Someone was here. Recently, they're still active. The bloodline didn't thin out. It just went underground. And then I see it. At the base of the pillar, a small, modern evidence marker. Number 7. The police have already been here, and they didn't report a thing. In the mansion on the hill, the senator doesn't sleep. He watches. He has cameras where the birds don't fly. He sees me touching the pillar. He sees me finding the marker. He doesn't look worried. He looks like a man watching a fly land on a spider web. He picks up a heavy silver pen and crosses a name off a list. My name. Sarah made a mistake. She thought her name would protect her. But in the Cypress Society, there are no daughters. Only assets and liabilities. The SUV behind her nudges her bumper. A love tap from the devil. She's being driven off the road, away from the town, toward the deep woods where the clay is softest. Miller knows the play. He's the one who gave the order. He's not a villain in his own mind. He's a janitor, cleaning up the mess his father left behind. The boy has his grandfather's eyes. He mutters to the empty room. Shame they have to close so soon. He stands up, holsters the piece, and turns off the light. The hunt is no longer silent. Gravity is the only law that always holds in Oconee. Sarah's car hits the soft shoulder, the red clay reaching up like a hand to pull her down. The world spins, a kaleidoscope of dark pines and blinding high beams. Then, silence. Only the ticking of a cooling engine and the sound of heavy boots stepping onto the gravel above. The hunters don't hurry. They know she has nowhere to run. I hear it, a dull thud against the wind. Metal meeting earth. My gut tells me Sarah didn't make it to the highway, but the sawmill has its own gravity. It's pulling me toward the floorboards. There's a draft coming from beneath the rusted machinery. cold, stale air that hasn't seen the sun since the Johnson administration. I'm standing on a trapdoor of history. The wood groans under my weight, a dying breath from the past. I drop into the cellar. The smell hits me first. Formaldehyde and old paper. This isn't just a basement. It's an archive. The Cypress Society didn't just bury their problems. They kept receipts. Every name they erased, every life they took, recorded in the ink of a ghost. Trophies. They didn't just kill for power. They killed for the sport of it. I move the light slowly. 6 jars, 6 lives, and then the 7th. It's a small, silver harmonica. My grandfather's. He used to play it on the porch while I sat at his feet. Seeing it here, in this hole, turns my blood to ice. This isn't a crime scene. It's a temple of cruelty. Sarah crawls. The mud is thick, suffocating. She looks up and sees a man with no face, just a silhouette against the storm. He doesn't say a word. He doesn't need to. He raises the iron bar, a final punctuation mark for a story that was never supposed to be written. She reaches for her camera, not to take a photo, but to use it as a shield, a desperate gesture in a town that broke its mirrors long ago. I open the ledger, the Cypress registry, dates, coordinates, amounts paid. It's all here. The infrastructure of a shadow government. Sterling's signature is on every page. So is Miller's father. They didn't just kill my grandfather because he knew too much. They killed him because he was the only one who couldn't be bought. He was the grit in their gears. And now, I'm the one turning the handle. Headlights cut through the trees. Miller has arrived. He doesn't call for backup. He doesn't need it. He knows I'm down there. He knows I've found the jars. He walks toward the entrance, the heavy click-clack of his shotgun echoing through the skeletal beams of the mill. "Elias," he shouts, his voice booming like a preacher's. "Time to come up for air. The red clay is waiting." I kill the light. In the dark, I'm not a detective anymore. I'm a Thorne. I can hear him above me, the floorboards creaking. The sound of a man who thinks he's already won. "I'm not coming up, Miller," I yell back. My voice is steady. A promise. "If you want me, you're going to have to come down here into the dirt, just like your father did." The creaking stops. The silence that follows is the heaviest thing in Georgia. Miller doesn't wait for an answer. He knows the silence of a man who's cornered. He pumps the shotgun, the sound echoing like a hammer on a coffin. "My father told me about your grandfather, Elias," he calls out, his voice dripping with mock pity. "He was a good man, just didn't know when to stop digging. It's a family trait, I guess. One that ends tonight." He fires a blind shot into the dark. The roar of the 12-gauge shakes the rotting foundation of the mill. The blast tears through the timber above my head. Miller isn't looking for a collar. He's looking for a burial. I'm huddled in the corner, the ledger clutched to my heart like a shield. I strike a match, just for a second, long enough to see the next page. I need to know why the 7th jar is here, why my grandfather's harmonica was kept as a trophy if he was one of them. The flame flickers, and the truth burns its way into my retinas. The world stops. My grandfather wasn't the victim. He was the one holding the shovel. The 7th name in the pit isn't his. It's the man who tried to stop him. Isaiah Thorne didn't disappear. He was promoted. You always were too much like your mother, Sarah. Curious, defiant. The senator speaks with the calm of a man who has already decided the ending. Sarah spits blood onto the expensive rug. "The police found the site, Dad. Elias has the ring. It's over." Sterling smiles, a cold, thin line. Elias Thorne is currently being erased by the same system his grandfather built. History doesn't repeat, Sarah. It rhymes. He enters the vault, the heart of the Sterling Empire. Here, the digital and the physical meet. He looks at the monitors. Miller is at the sawmill. The trap is set. He reaches for the iron box on the pedestal. Inside is the original pact, the one signed in 1964. If that paper burns, the last link to the red clay dies with it. He doesn't see the small red light blinking on the underside of his desk. My grandfather was a monster. The realization should break me. Instead, it hardens me. If I'm the grandson of the executioner, then I know exactly how these men think. I know where they hide. I know how they bleed. Miller thinks he has me in a hole. He doesn't realize he's standing on a powder keg. I look at the shelves of jars. The trophies of the Cypress Society. It's time to break the collection. "I'm coming down, Elias. Make it easy on yourself." Miller's weight makes the ladder scream. He's halfway down when I step out of the shadows. I don't use my gun. I use the truth. "Miller," I bark. "Your father didn't just pay my grandfather. He watched him do it. He sat in the car and listened to the screams. You're not a hero. You're just the son of a coward." Miller freezes, his light hitting my face. The jar explodes. 60 years of stored rot and glass shards spray across the cellar. Miller loses his grip. He falls, a heavy, clumsy heap of flesh and authority. The shotgun goes off, the blast catching a stack of old ledgers, sending flaming paper into the air. In the chaos, I don't run for the ladder. I run for him. The red clay wants its due, and tonight, I'm the one collecting. The smoke is a thick, oily curtain between us and the world above. I tackle Miller into the red muck. He's heavy, smelling of cheap tobacco and cold sweat. "You're just like him," he wheezes, his hand clawing at my throat. "Elias Thorne's blood is screaming in your veins, boy. You're not arresting me. You're fulfilling your legacy." I don't answer. I just press my forearm against his windpipe. I didn't choose this blood, but I'll use every drop of it to drown the system he helped build. The fire reaches the shelves. The jars explode one by one. 60 years of stolen lives, shattered in seconds. The wedding rings, the watches, the glasses. The physical proof of the Cypress Society's cruelty is being purified by the flame. It's a funeral pyre for the forgotten. The heat is blistering, peeling the paint off the walls and the skin off our faces. The cellar isn't a hiding spot anymore. It's an oven. "Give it to me, Elias," Miller gasps, blood bubbling at the corner of his mouth. That book is the only thing keeping this town from tearing itself apart. If the names come out, the Sterlings aren't the only ones who fall. Everyone is guilty. "Then let it burn," I growl, pulling the ledger back. But not before I see the face of the man who gave the final order. I flip to the last page. The ink is fresh, a date from last week. In the silence of the Sterling vault, the senator watches his history turn to ash. He sees the flicker of the flames through the cracks in the sawmill floorboards. He doesn't call the fire department. He doesn't call Miller. He simply watches. To him, this isn't a tragedy. It's a restructuring. A clean slate. He believes that once the sawmill falls, the truth will be buried under the charcoal and the clay forever. Sarah isn't waiting for a hero. She knows the Thorne bloodline is too busy fighting its own demons. She kicks. She pulls. She bleeds. The lamp base is a jagged tooth of porcelain, but it's enough. She can hear her father's voice behind the steel door, a low, rhythmic mumble. He's talking to someone who isn't in the room. She needs to get to that vault. She needs to see what he's protecting more than his own daughter. The ladder is a spine of fire. Every rung I take is a gamble with gravity. I leave Miller in the dirt. He's too weak to climb and too heavy to carry. "Don't leave me here, Thorne," he screams, his voice breaking. "We're the same. We're both sons of the clay." I don't look back. I pull myself onto the main floor of the sawmill just as the ladder collapses into the abyss. The archive is closed, permanent. The sawmill is a dying beast. The wood, dried by decades of neglect, burns with a terrifying hunger. I have the ledger, the names, the dates, the proof that Oconee County was built on a foundation of bones. But as I turn toward the exit, I see the last page again. The name under the current beneficiary isn't Sterling. It isn't Miller. It's a name I've seen every day on my own desk. The fresh air tastes like iron and ash. Behind me, the sawmill groans and folds in on itself, a giant sinking into the swamp. I look down at the ledger one last time before the rain blurs the ink. The name. My captain, the man who sent me to this pit. He didn't send me here to solve a crime. He sent me here to die with the rest of the secrets. I'm not just fighting a senator. I'm fighting the very badge I'm wearing. The sawmill is a funeral pyre for my illusions. I watch the badge in my mind melt away with the timber. Miller's gone. The jars are gone. But the ink in this ledger is still dry, and it's screaming a name I used to trust. Captain Vance, the man who gave me my shield, the man who told me Oconee needed a fresh set of eyes. He didn't want a detective. He wanted a ghost. Someone who would disappear into the clay just like my grandfather did. I don't call it in. There is no dispatch for this kind of treason. I start the engine. The vibration feels like a heartbeat under my palms. I have two choices. I can drive to the state line and never look back, or I can drive into the mouth of the beast. But the Thorne blood is thick. It doesn't run. It settles. I put the car in gear. The red clay is still hungry, but tonight I'm not the meal. I'm the hunter. The house is a cage, but I know where the bars are weak. I can hear my father's voice echoing from the vault. He thinks he's alone. He thinks the fire at the sawmill burned away his sins. Every portrait I pass looks at me with judgment. They were all part of it. The Cypress Society isn't a club. It's a genetic curse. I reach the heavy steel door. It's slightly ajar. A mistake. My father never makes mistakes, unless he's already won. Vance sits in the dark. He's not waiting for a report. He's waiting for a confirmation of death. He's the bridge between the street and the mansion. The man who ensures the law only looks where it's told. He looks at the clock. The sawmill should be ash by now. Thorne should be a memory. He picks up the burner phone. He doesn't dial. He just waits for the red clay to finish its work. He doesn't know that the clay has a way of spitting back what it can't digest. I dial the only number I know by heart. Not the precinct. Not the feds. I dial the vault. I want the senator to hear my voice. I want him to know that the fire didn't take the ledger. Senator, I whisper into the receiver. The line crackles with the storm. I'm looking at page 42. Your signature looks a little shaky next to the payout from my grandfather. Silence. A long, cold silence that stretches from the swamp to the hill. Detective Thorne. Sterling's voice is a low hiss. You're a hard man to kill. Just like Isaiah. He looks at the monitor. He sees his daughter. He sees the broken lamp in her hand. He's trapped between a ghost on the phone and a traitor in his own house. The ledger is a death warrant, Elias. For you. For Sarah. For this entire town. Then let the town burn, I reply. I've already seen the sparks. She enters the sanctuary of the serpent. The air in the vault is recycled, sterile, and smells of old money. Hang up the phone, Dad, she says. Her voice is a razor. Sterling looks at her, then at the phone. He sees the end of the line. You don't understand the weight of this, Sarah. The society is the only thing keeping the peace. No, she says, stepping closer. It's the only thing keeping the graves full. The call is over. The board is set. Sterling is cornered. Vance is waiting. And Sarah is in the eye of the storm. I have 1 hour before the captain realizes I'm still breathing. 1 hour to decide if I'm a cop who follows the law or a thorn who delivers justice. In the red clay of Georgia, the two were never the same. I turn the key. The engine roars, a hungry beast ready for the final hunt. I'm driving through a graveyard that calls itself a county. Every mile is a ghost. Every tree is a witness. The ledger is open to the last entry. My captain's name isn't just a signature, it's a confession. He didn't just take the money, he took the duty of the shovel. I'm not going back to the station. There's no law left there. I'm going to the hill, to the man who bought the shovel in the first place. The phone on Vance's desk rings. One short, sharp burst. He knows. He knows the sawmill didn't claim me. He knows the senator is panicking. He doesn't look afraid. He looks like a man who's been waiting for an excuse to stop pretending. He reaches into his desk drawer and pulls out a heavy, unmarked suppressor. Cleanup isn't over. It's just moving to a bigger house. You think you're the hero, Sarah? The senator's voice is a dry rattle. You think exposing us saves this town? If the Cypress Society falls, the banks pull out. The industry dies. The red clay takes back everything we built. Sarah doesn't blink. Then, let it take it. At least the soil will be clean. Sterling laughs. A sound like dry leaves. Nothing in Georgia is clean, daughter. Not even the hands that try to wash it. Vance steps into the storm. He doesn't use the lights. He doesn't use the siren. He's a shadow moving through shadows. He knows the route Thorne will take. There's only one road to the Sterling estate that isn't washed out by the creek. He's not going there to arrest a rogue detective. He's going there to finish a contract 60 years in the making. The hunter is now the bullet. I reach the gates. The serpent is waiting. The Sterling house looks like a tomb with the lights on. I can feel the weight of the ledger in my hand. It's the only key that fits this lock. I don't wait for the buzzer. I don't ask for permission. I drive the car straight through the iron. The sound of screaming metal is the first honest thing this house has heard in decades. You want the truth, Sarah? Here. Sterling presses play. A voice fills the vault. A voice Sarah doesn't recognize, but I would. It's my grandfather, Elias Thorne. The seventh body is buried under the oak, the voice says, raspy and tired. But the eighth is the one that matters. The one we didn't tell the society about. Sterling looks at his daughter. The eighth body wasn't a victim, Sarah. It was the founder. She sees it on the monitor. The trap is closing. My car's at the front door, but Vance is right behind me. The senator isn't the only one with secrets. The society has a failsafe, and the failsafe just pulled a shotgun from his trunk. He's here, Sarah whispers. Sterling doesn't look at the screen. He just looks at the tape recorder. The cycle never ends, Sarah. It just gets louder. I step onto the marble. It's cold, like a morgue floor. "Sterling!" I yell. My voice echoes up the stairs, bouncing off the faces of a dozen dead men in oil paintings. I can hear the hum of the vault door opening somewhere in the back of the house. But I also hear the crunch of gravel behind me, a car door closing, the rack of a slide. I'm between the past and the future, and both of them are armed. The marble floor is a mirror of my own failure. I hear the boots before I see him, the rhythmic, heavy step of a man who's walked this path 1,000 times, Captain Vance. He doesn't look like a cop anymore. He looks like a reaper in a navy blue suit. "Drop it, Elias," he says. His voice is a low rumble, blending with the thunder outside. "The ledger stays in the family. You're just the help. I'm pinned between the man who bought the law and the man who enforces the silence. You don't want to hear the rest, Sarah." The senator's grip is like iron, the desperation of a dying dynasty. Sarah screams, a sound that echoes through the vents of the mansion. "The eighth body! Who was it?" Sterling leans in close, his breath smelling of expensive scotch and rot. "It was the man who tried to stop the first pact, your great-grandfather, murdered by his own sons. This house isn't built on money, Sarah. It's built on patricide." The first blast shatters a bust of a man who died 100 years ago. I roll behind the marble, the cold stone, the only thing between me and a closed casket. I fire back, blind, desperate. The ledger is tucked into my belt, a heavy weight that feels like a target. Vance isn't hiding. He's advancing. He knows the house. He knows the shadows. And he knows I only have 3 rounds left in the magazine. "Stop!" Her voice cuts through the gunfire. We both look up. Sarah is standing over us like a vengeful angel. She's holding the iron box, the original pact, the blood-stained paper that started it all. "Vance! If you pull that trigger again, this box goes over the rail. All of it. The names, the deeds, the truth." The captain freezes. He's a man of contracts. Without the paper, he has no value. The standoff in the hall was a distraction. I knew where the tape ended. The eighth body. The founder. The ledger gave me the coordinates. But the voice on the tape gave me the reason. I'm standing under the ancient oak, the heart of the Sterling estate. The red clay here is different. It's darker, richer. It's been fed for 60 years by the very men who claim to protect this town. I start to dig with my bare hands. "You found it," Sterling whispers. He looks old, small, the key to the original vault, the one under the roots. I look at the key. It's not a key to a box. It's a key to a cage. "My grandfather didn't kill these people for you, Sterling," I say. My voice is thick with the taste of mud. "He killed them for the society. He thought he was saving the world. But you just wanted the land." Sterling raises the pistol. "The land is the only thing that lasts, Elias. The shot doesn't come from the senator. It comes from the house." Sarah, she didn't wait for the law. She didn't wait for me. She ended the bloodline with a single pull of the trigger. Sterling hits the red clay. He doesn't look like a senator anymore. He just looks like another debt the earth is ready to collect. The silence that follows is louder than the storm. The Sterling name is dead. The sawmill is ash. The ledger is a blur of blue ink and rain. I look at my hands. They're stained red. Not just from the clay. I'm the grandson of the executioner, the man who finished the job. Sarah walks toward me, the shotgun dragging in the mud. We don't speak. There's nothing left to say. Oconee County is free, but freedom in the South is just another word for being alone in the dark. They called it a tragic accident, a fire, a home invasion, a senator lost in the chaos. Vance is the new sheriff. Sarah is in a private clinic, and I'm a man without a badge. I pick up the harmonica. I try to play a note, but it's choked with dust. The red clay didn't provide redemption. It just provided a deeper grave. I look at the gold ring, the sterling crest. It's on my finger now. Someone has to manage the silence.